The end of their era or the threshold of fate? 10. Gods, crossed from the 2026 World Cup. The road to the World Cup is paved with glory for some. But for others, it is a path of heartbreak. As Iraq secures the final spot for 2026, we are forced to face a somber reality. Many of the game's greatest icons will be watching from the sidelines. From Lewandowski's final dream to Italy's shock collapse, we examine the superstars who missed the flight to North America. European heartbreak. The shock exit of the Azzurri and other continental giants. The footballing world is still reeling from the seismic shockwaves emanating from the European playoffs, where the unthinkable has become a cold, hard reality. Italy, the traditional powerhouse of the continent, will not be boarding the flight to North America. The Azzurri's collapse against Bosnia in the playoff final stands as one of the most staggering upsets in recent memory. How does a nation with such a rich tactical heritage and a squad brimming with elite talent fall at the final hurdle? It wasn't for a lack of quality, but rather a haunting persistence of the Azzurri curse that seems to paralyze them in these high-stakes qualification moments. At the heart of this tragedy is Sandro Tonali, the midfield maestro, who has dictated tempos in the world's toughest leagues, found himself unable to impose his will against a dogged Bosnian side that refused to follow the script. Despite Tonali's industry and vision, the Italian engine room sputtered when it mattered most, proving that individual brilliance is often no match for a collective spirit fueled by the underdog's fire. Perhaps the most poignant image of this failed campaign is that of Gianluigi Donnarumma. To see a goalkeeper of his stature, a man who has already conquered Europe at the club and international level, collapsed on the turf, head in hands, is a stark reminder of the World Cup's unforgiving nature. This was supposed to be his moment of redemption, a chance to finally showcase his shot-stopping prowess on the greatest stage of all. Instead, he faces another grueling 4-year wait, a lifetime in the career of a professional athlete. The silence in the Italian dressing room speaks volumes. It is the sound of a golden generation once again watching the world's biggest party from the outside looking in. This isn't just a tactical failure, it is a deep-seated psychological scar for a nation that considers the World Cup its birthright. The solitary stars. When world-class talent meets national limitations. The cruel paradox of international football is that a player's genius is often shackled by the borders of their birth. Nowhere is this more evident than in the heartbreaking absence of Dominik Szoboszlai and Kavica Kvaratskhelia from the 2026 World Cup. In the Premier League, Szoboszlai is a Swiss Army knife of dynamism, a midfield engine capable of dictating the tempo for a title-contending Liverpool. Yet, as he pulls on the Hungary jersey, the reality shifts. He is no longer a cog in a world-class machine but the entire engine itself. The same narrative haunts Kvaratskhelia, the Napoli sensation, nicknamed Kvaradona for his balletic dribbling, found himself stranded as Georgia succumbed to the sheer depth of European qualification. It is a sobering reminder that while individual brilliance can win a match, it rarely conquers a continent. Then we look at the Benjamin Sesko dilemma. For Slovenia, Sesko is a generational talisman, a physical marvel who possesses every attribute of the modern elite striker. However, the weight of a nation's expectations can be a heavy burden to carry alone. In the Bundesliga, Sesko thrives on service and tactical cohesion. With Slovenia, he is often forced to drop deep, chasing shadows and creating his own opportunities out of nothing. The tactical gap between the elite European club setups and these struggling national squads is widening. While top clubs utilize intricate systems to mask weaknesses, national teams like Slovenia and Hungary often lack the collective quality to sustain a 90-minute assault on the world stage. These stars are not failing, they are simply out of miracles. African powerhouses silenced. The absence of Osimhen and Mbeumo. The qualifying path through the African continent has always been a ruthless gauntlet. But the road to 2026 has delivered a particularly stinging blow to some of the game's most feared marksmen. It is almost unfathomable to imagine a World Cup without the reigning African Footballer of the Year. Yet Victor Osimhen and Nigeria's Super Eagles have found themselves on the outside looking in. Nigeria possesses what many consider a world-class, heavy artillery unit, spearheaded by Osimhen's relentless pace and clinical finishing. However, football is a game of collective harmony, and the Super Eagles learned the hard way that individual brilliance cannot always mask structural inconsistencies. Equally gut-wrenching is the fate of Cameroon and their talismanic figure. Brian Mbeumo. The indomitable Lions have long been the face of African resilience at the World Cup. But their exit this time around feels like a bitter end to a promising cycle. Mbeumo, who has been lighting up the English Premier League with his versatility and explosive bursts of speed, was expected to be the catalyst for a deep tournament run. Instead, Cameroon faced a heartbreaking departure, leaving Mbeumo to ponder what might have been. This double exit highlights the intensifying competition within the CAF qualifiers, with the tactical gap closing between the traditional giants and the rising underdogs. There is no longer any room for error. The last dance denied. Robert Lewandowski's final curtain call. The dream of a final flourish on the world's grandest stage has evaporated into the cold night air for one of the greatest marksmen of the modern era. Robert Lewandowski, the Barcelona talisman who has spent a career defying the laws of physics and age, found himself powerless as Poland's World Cup aspirations crumbled at the hands of a resurgent Sweden. It was a clash of generations that felt like a passing of the torch, while Lewandowski fought against the dying of the light. Sweden's Viktor Gyökeres spearheaded a vibrant, high-octane attack that ultimately overwhelmed the Polish defense. From a tactical perspective, the post-mortem of Poland's failure reveals a recurring, tragic theme: the isolation of their greatest asset. Throughout the decisive qualifying campaign, the Polish midfield struggled to bridge the gap between defense and attack, failing to provide the silver service that a poacher of Lewandowski's caliber requires to thrive. While Gyökeres benefited from a Swedish system designed to exploit space and create high-percentage chances, Lewandowski was often forced to drop deep into his own half just to touch the ball, draining his energy and removing him from the danger zone where he is most lethal. As the whistle blew, it marked more than just a defeat, it signaled the end of an era. The injury crisis, Rodrigo and the growing list of precarious stars. The cruelest blow in world football has struck the heart of the Samba boys. Just as the countdown to the World Cup begins, Brazil faces a devastating reality with Rodrigo. Suffering a ruptured cruciate ligament at this critical juncture is more than just a medical setback. It is a dream deferred in the most agonizing fashion. For a player of his technical elegance and big-game temperament, missing the flight to North America leaves a void in the Selecão's frontline that tactical adjustments can hardly fill. But the anxiety in the Brazilian camp does not end there. The enigma that is Neymar Jr. remains the biggest question mark over the tournament. It is a frantic race against time and his own fitness, a narrative we have seen before, yet it feels more desperate this time. Can his body withstand the rigors of one final charge at the trophy that has eluded him? Without his creative spark, Brazil feels incomplete. Across the Atlantic, Gareth Southgate faces a different kind of headache: the Premier League tax. The sheer intensity of the English top flight has left stars like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Cole Palmer in a state of roster uncertainty. For Trent, it is the perennial debate of fit versus form in a crowded defensive unit, while Palmer, despite his meteoric rise, finds himself battling the exhaustion of a grueling season in a congested depth chart. As the May deadline looms, these world-class talents are staring at the very real possibility of watching the greatest show on earth from their living rooms. Analyzing the 4-8 TEAM expansion, does more spots mean more pressure? The road to North America has reached its dramatic conclusion, and the narrative arc is nothing short of cinematic. Iraq has etched its name into the history books, clinching the 48th and final ticket in a breathtaking victory over Bolivia. For the Lions of Mesopotamia, this is more than just a qualification. It is a symbol of resilience, proving that the expanded format can indeed open doors for emerging nations to grace the grandest stage of all. However, as the dust settles on the qualification rounds, we are faced with a jarring paradox. You would expect a 48-team tournament to be a safety net for the world's elite. Yet the list of absentees remains devastatingly prestigious. Why do superstars like Robert Lewandowski or Gianluigi Donnarumma still find themselves on the outside looking in? The answer lies in the evolving parity of global football. As the FIFA World Cup expands, the pressure on traditional powerhouses does not diminish, it intensifies. The margin for error has vanished because mid-tier nations now possess the tactical discipline and individual quality to punish any lapse in concentration. Italy's shocking exit at the hands of Bosnia serves as a chilling reminder that a storied history offers no protection against a hungry underdog. Looking ahead, the impact of missing these marquee names on global viewership cannot be understated. Football is a game of icons. And the absence of a heavyweight, like Italy, or a generational finisher like Osimhen strips the tournament of specific regional narratives and commercial magnetism. While the 48-team expansion promises a more inclusive festival, the departure of these 10 giants reminds us that the World Cup remains the most ruthless stage in sports. The spectacle will go on, but the shadows of the stars who missed the train will loom large over the stadiums of Mexico, Canada, and the United States. As the dust settles on a grueling qualification campaign, we are reminded that the World Cup is a stage of both dreams and heartbreak. From the tearful exit of legends like Lewandowski to the shocking absence of Italian flair, the tournament loses a constellation of stars before it even begins. While their talent is undeniable, the beautiful game waits for no one. Let us cherish these icons in their club colors. But as the countdown to kick-off begins, prepare to embrace the new heroes ready to seize their moment in the spotlight. The stage is set, the world is watching,